Hello, hello, hello. Let's turn that down a little bit. I think that should be good for the stream. All right. How's everybody doing? I'm gonna turn my fan off, actually. That might be a good idea. Yeah, I've got a little Disney lo-fi mix playing. I'm not really a lo-fi person, but it tends to not get hit by the algorithm. Isn't it, though? It's Disney Lo-Fi Mix by Moon Lo-Fi Beats. Here, I'll scroll so you can see this is the title by this person. I'll share the link after stream. I cannot do super chat or anything because I'm not actually monetized yet. But you can get me there if you I need 500 subscribers to get super chat and monetization and stuff. Yeah, the stream topic. We're talking about a couple of Lily's videos that somebody in a Discord server I was in have been like, hey, somebody should make a video on this. Yeah. Alright, so I think we're gonna get started here in a second. Alright. So we'll do the Magneto video first. I feel like it's topical because the X-Men 97 just ended. And then we will go ahead and we'll do the long one, which we're doing Lily's complete Disney Roundup video. So that'll be interesting. So we'll go ahead and turn that off. Here we go. Stop making villains like Magneto. They suck. Already I have a problem with this. I love Magneto. Magneto's awesome. And I think the volume should be good.
Hi everyone, please support our videos on Patreon. The link's at the end of the video and in the down there part. Thank you, you're lovely.
Okay, I'm very confused why, because I've seen a couple of her videos where she puts on that voice and then she just like never uses it again. But oh, it's fine. I've just been doing this for a few weeks really, so anyway. So this video, to be fair, this video is a year old. Not that old, but her opinions could have changed.
Ordinarily, I lean into the topic of the video in these things, but I don't have a way to lean in because it's kind of infuriating, but also darkly hilarious. So instead, I'm just going to show you this picture of Bonnie with a knife.
I don't want to see your Pokemadhouse fan art, Lily. Just get to the point.
Ain't she cute? Alright, let's talk about some
Hello.
annoying shit. May the bond give me strength. So there's a sentiment among people that villains are always better when they're complicated and sympathetic. It's become a part of fandom's growing tunnel vision, and that
Yeah, because it's better if the characters have motivations. But anyway.
they believe that there is one objectively best set of tropes for a story, and if they can find it, then their mere presence will make the story better. Fandom likes to believe that there is only one good kind of story to tell, they just need to find it. They'll always respond
That sounds
to
like
criticism
Lily.
of a trope's execution as if it's criticism of the trope itself, and almost always repeat the line, "It works if it's done well." But fandom doesn't really think in terms of done well. If the
I would notice that she says this a lot. It works if it's done well, and if you say that, you're not paying attention. And Lily, I feel like that's interesting. She assumes that if you don't agree with her, you're not paying attention to what she has to say. I mean, like, her fan art's fine, but, like well, it's actually Michaela's fan art, but, like, I don't know why it feels like Lily, if you just wanna show us art that you liked, that your wife drew, you could just tell us that. If you just wanted to show us your art, you could say that. Like, you don't have to, like, find a weird excuse to rumor has it that Lily might start claiming videos about her, both want to I both want and do not want her to do it because if she does, it will destroy her, the first real death nail. Yeah, this is fair use. By the way, like I am using her video. It's funny because she also like heavily uses content made by other people. So, oh, I also realized that I'm not actually in the right view. Hi, I'm I'm a professional. I'm really good at this. Um, she uses a lot of content that isn't her own, so it'd be a bit of a hypocritical move for her to do that, I think. And I hope that she doesn't stoop that low. But I'm definitely this is definitely fair use. I'm not just sitting here listening to her video. I'm reacting to it. I'm doing exactly what Lily does, just with her video. So,
if it's done well. But fandom doesn't really think
thank
in
you.
terms
Thank
of
you,
done
Dan.
well. If the trope is present at all, it's done well in their eyes. Additionally, there's a bit of a social desirability bias in that fandom will often say that they love complicated and sympathetic villains, and yet at the same time, where their actual viewing habits
Lily, shut up. You couldn't even handle the fucking gay Space Rocks show.
are concerned, their favorite villains tend to be far less complicated. I'm guilty of that too. My favorite villains are the opposite of complicated or sympathetic.
Okay, this was made a year ago, so this whole see, in her Kingdom Hearts video she made, Kingdom Hearts was fairly, like we didn't know Xehanort's backstory at this point, but now we do know Xehanort's backstory, and he is a very complicated villain. I'm sure that there's let's see. Could I Could I feel like people that aren't in the know probably are never going to know and probably doesn't care. But Xehanort, him and Ericus were not the only Keyblade wielders of their generation. Despite what it seems like, they actually went to a school to become Keyblade wielders. And then one of the other students, his name was Balder, something I believe. See, I haven't actually sat down and watched through Dark Road, but I basically know the plot because my friend is very hyper fixated on the mobile games. But basically, what happened is Balder's sister was killed, and he went crazy and killed all of Xehanort's and Ericus's classmates. And that was when Xehanort was like, there's only darkness in the world. That's all there is. Everything's darkness. Because, like, how else would somebody react to everyone they know dying? Like, I feel like that's a pretty sympathetic, kind of tragic moment, isn't it? Like, am I crazy? But anyway, um
They're very simple megalomaniacs and don't have an ounce of sympathy in their dry, brittle bones. But I also have a
I can't
documented
comment
dislike
on
of stories
the
that try to
WoW
make the
guy. I
villain
don't know
sympathetic.
WoW.
Why? Well, let's answer that question in an increasingly roundabout route for the sake of audience metrics.
Hello,
See,
new
sympathetic
viewers.
villains are a double-edged sword, because you can only make them so sympathetic before their status as a villain starts to be questioned. Let's take my all-time favorite example of this backfiring, Magneto. Now, Magneto is the main villain of X-Men, a story about the persecution of people who have a genetic...
Yes, but also no, not really. He's not the main villain. He's more like that's like saying and again, forgive me for mincing words, but calling Magneto the main hi calling Magneto the main villain of X-Men is like calling Malcolm X the main villain uh of Martin Luther King Jr.'s civil rights movement. Well, he said she says the main villain that he's the main villain. He is a villain, yeah, but like it's more that I don't know. It's just I hesitate to call him the main villain. It's more like he's going about things the wrong way, but he's compelling and it's understandable why he got there. But anyway.
mutation that gives them superpowers. It's a very dated metaphor for racism in the 60s, and the films are a very dated metaphor for LGBT youth in the 2000s.
Actually, it's anti-Semitism because Jack Kirby and a lot of the original creators were Jewish, and they wanted to talk about anti-Semitism. That's basically why we have the Marvel comics. Yes, Magneto does end up wanting mutant supremacy, but only after whole thing with um the thing with Magneto is that he was a Holocaust survivor, and then he started seeing similar patterns of discrimination happening towards mutants. So he's like, never again. Basically, was his attitude, and him and Charles actually used to align on a lot of things, and then they grew apart. Not because Magneto was radicalized not by mutants but by humans. Um, his Magneto's motivation as an antagonist is to create a safe world for mutants. It's the exact same motivations as Charles Xavier's motivations as a protagonist. That's what makes him so interesting. That being said, I'm going to talk about this after this video because X-Men 97 just finished airing, and they did a bit of a different take on Magneto that I really liked.
Magneto's whole shtick is that he's a Jewish Holocaust survivor who sees the impending discrimination against
Mhm.
mutants as another Holocaust waiting to happen, and is determined to not let it happen, even if he has to get violent to do it. Now, your first thought upon reading up on Magneto's backstory and motivation is probably, hang on, why is he a villain again? This was, for a very long time, a pretty fucking massive glaring issue with the comics. You have a Holocaust survivor seeing the signs of genocide creeping in and goes, oh fuck that noise, and is trying to stop it, and he's the bad guy. Now, while Magneto...
All right, I am also going to point out, and I don't want to get too political here, but I think it's really difficult to not get political considering, considering we're literally talking about like Holocaust survivors and denialism, but like X-Men 97 is a sequel to the show from the 90s. Yes. It literally just finished airing. Okay. So I'm sure you're all aware of the problems going down in Palestine right now. And this has been a problem for decades. Like we're talking about the Holocaust. I'm going to get political. So very clearly we can see that people that are like, I want a safe place for this group to go to, can end up being violent, dangerous, and evil themselves. If you are willing to, like, here's the thing. The answer to Nazism, for example, isn't like, back in World War II, wasn't to kill every German citizen so that there would never be a Nazi, you know? The answer is to fight Nazism directly, which is more what Charles and the X-Men do. But yes, he wasn't. He could be a representation of the Israeli government, and there's a little bit of that in X-Men 97. But it wasn't as much of a hot button topic when Magneto was originally written, and they haven't really done much with the character in the past couple decades because Disney doesn't want, it's a bit complicated with X-Men in the comics right now. It's getting better now that Disney owns X-Men, but anyway. So
has been around since the 60s. This wasn't an established part of his character until about 1980, 10 years after the man who created him, Jack Kirby, left Marvel. And yeah, it does feel like something that would have been made after Kirby had left Marvel, wouldn't it? Originally, Magneto was just kind of a generic comic book supervillain, but also not. Again, X-Men was a dated metaphor for racism in the 60s, and, well, let's just say the rivalry between Magneto and Charles Xavier feels a lot like the rivalry that white liberals like to imagine existed between two certain historical figures. You know what I'm fucking talking about.
yeah, so I also wanted to touch on that, like the Malcolm X and Malcolm and Martin Luther King Jr. thing. That isn't really the relationship that they had, but it did. But that perception did color how the characters were made, and I'm going to talk about that when we're finished this and we talk about X-Men 97. Hold on, Magneto could be an anti-hero or a villain depending on the writer. It's just how comics work. Sometimes he's Malcolm X and others he's Antifa. I mean, I could say things about Antifa. And that it's not actually a political organization. It's just a stance about being anti-fascist. If we're gonna get a radio government, Lay's biggest problem with this video and stuff like this is that she doesn't know the difference between revenge and retribution. Honestly, Magneto's journey to villainy is a perfect example of the horseshoe effect. Unnecessary hate towards a character progression check. Yeah, I also think that like it just makes him a better character. I'm also not a big fan of horseshoe theory, for the record.
Magneto's new-ish backstory is pretty bog-standard sympathetic villain fodder. Namely, heroes plead to the moral sensibilities of an oppressor, and trying to end systemic discrimination by force is a bad, naughty thing for meanie-poos.
Steven Universe mentioned!
If this does not scream tacit support of the status quo to you, you're clearly...
No, an ad. Yeah. I have YouTube Premium. I'm just not signed into my account, by the way.
It supported the status quo to you. You're clearly not paying attention.
Horseshoe theory is if you go far enough to the left, you eventually loop around to being on the right again. And that's not really true. It's just that you can have regressive ideology at any point along the political spectrum. Um, so that's what horseshoe theory is. It's not really true. It's just that it's not that the far left resembles the far right. They're like as opposite as you can get, but you can have regressive beliefs no matter what you believe.
And this framework has existed all the way up to the modern day, where even though Magneto has long since stopped being a villain in the comics, in film adaptations, he's still a Holocaust survivor and still the bad guy for no reason.
There are thousands of men on those ships, good, honest, innocent men. They're just following orders.
I've been at the mercy of men just following orders. Never again.
You know, never again is a real thing that real
Yes, you are supposed to sympathize with him in that moment. You're supposed to be conflicted. You're supposed to say that, yeah, he's kind of got a point, honestly. Um, you're not supposed to have an easy answer to who is right. That's why it's so compelling and why it's so interesting. Um, but I don't know what I expect from someone who thinks Kingdom Hearts is about the struggle between good and evil, so I don't know what she said it was new backstory. 80% it was always his backstory. Yeah, I thought so too, but Lily hates Arthas and considers him to be evil male abuser instead of the tragic hero that he is, while Sylvanas, from her perspective, is a hero simply because she desires vengeance against him. That's where you're wrong. She's a hero because she's a sexy lady. That's why.
Holocaust survivors say all the time, and here it's repurposed into a declaration of villainy.
No,
I laugh because
it's not a declaration. It's literally being referenced intentionally as a yeah, we don't want that to happen. It's supposed to be a complicated moment. Israel also never said never again. Israel also says never again. That doesn't justify their actions in Gaza. It sure doesn't. Two extremes only look at the same to people who don't know what's wrong with their side. The world isn't black and white, Ollie. Molly, the ghost, and Molly. Yeah. Magneto is very much like Demona from Gargoyles, where they take out their anger at their oppression on people who aren't directly responsible for their suffering. Bingo.
I will actually kill someone. His big moment of turning to evil is killing a fucking Nazi. Actually, fuck. You know that one Ultron line I keep using?
I think you're confusing peace with quiet.
But here's the great thing about that. That's a real thing that someone said when talking about the kind of attitude.
My favorite kind of my favorite manifestation of the Dunning-Kruger effect is when people think that you didn't even do that on purpose and you're referencing this thing. It's like, Lily, they did it on purpose. It is intentionally referencing these things. Why I don't understand why she's allergic to nuance. We know that. But she thinks that she's the only person who figures this stuff out, and it's really weird to see. Not sure if you remember what I said. I wanted someone to do a video on the Pokemon video. They bring up how she is not engaging in the story at all. Yeah, I think that's Ant. Ant actually followed me after my first video on Lily, and he's been shouting my channel out, so I really appreciate that on his end. Funniest thing in the world, if you take the world is in black and white Ollie scene and voice over Lily in place of Ollie. Yeah, maybe.
expressed by characters like Charles Xavier. Just to put the cherry on
That
top,
might be
it
a
was said by the person that
piss
people
on the
keep
poor
saying
ass
Charles
take,
Xavier
yeah.
is an allegory for.
Here's a little lesson in trickery.
Okay, if you haven't already noticed where I'm going with this, you are painfully unobservant. The problem with a sympathetic villain is that you can only make them so sympathetic.
Lily, you're going exactly where the movie asked you to go. You're not being that clever.
Before the fact that they're a villain at all reflects extremely poorly on you as a writer. You can only throw so much sympathy onto them before it becomes a question of why they're a villain in the first place.
Bismuth is not a villain. And again, this video was made only a year ago, long after we saw the whole Bismuth getting, like, immediately forgiven because she just got a little mad. You know, villain is not, or Bismuth is not a villain. Why? Please shut up about Steven Universe. Ugh, I can't expect.
In RWBY, the main villains are essentially anti-racism protesters who have a
I
very
don't care about
good
RWBY.
reason
Keep
to
going.
be anti-racism protesters. They're such a thinly veiled allegory for real-life civil rights activists.
Of course, fucking Lily has that bee in her ass about RWBY.
And the point where they become villainous is so nakedly shallow and so pathetically self-protective on the part of the writers.
Bismuth
that it's
is
almost a
an
joke,
anti-hero who grows
or at
to
least
hero.
It would be if the reason for writing them this way wasn't painfully obvious.
Don't care.
The two writers
Keep going.
are extremely sheltered white guys who think systemic racism is over.
Ah, yes, the two sheltered white guys. Two white guys and an Asian guy. What? It's so easy to convince Lily of something and make her think it was her idea. Yeah. Oh God, I feel like that was a thing in a show that I watched recently.
Individual racists are the only real problem, and protesters are just assholes for
I can't.
inconveniencing them
I don't
personally.
know.
This is known among some people as the boiling kittens in lava trope, where a group is established as having a very real grievance in regards to oppression, and they decide to achieve their goals through an extremely nonsensically evil ploy that makes absolutely no fucking sense, and is clearly ham-fisted to concoct a narrative about them going too far. Why is the leader of the White Fang a villain? Because he doesn't want equality, he just wants to kill all the humans. That's a line of thought that doesn't make sense unless you believe this about real-life civil rights protesters.
Lily, I think you're also, like, this is a moment of you're taking things too literally. An obvious metaphor. This is such a thinly veiled attempt at talking about this thing. The thing is that in our day-to-day lives, most people are never going to be put into the position of having to face off against a big villain. What you're going to do is maybe I, as a transgender man, encounter, for example, a transgender woman who has a lot of baggage about masculinity and is really upset and just really angry that she's been forced into this box all her life and she feels like masculinity icky and it's been forced down her throat and she doesn't want to be like that. And she takes all that baggage that she has about her own gender dysphoria and about the trans misogyny that she has experienced, and she starts taking it out on me. This is not a what if situation. This happens to me all the time. It happens to a lot of transgender men, where, yeah, you are perfectly justified in being upset by trans misogyny and the way that people have tried to force you to live a way that you don't want to live. But you don't get to treat me like shit about it, you know? Now I'm not going to get into Bedellism or whatever, but I think Bedellism is an amazing example of the kind of pain that a person with Magneto's experience can cause. I'm okay. You know, like I just don't accept that behavior anymore. Maybe when I was younger, it really messed me up. But if somebody treats me like that, I'm just like, actually, you need to stop right now. And I just don't let them treat me like that. Um, it's very hard. Like when I was younger, when people told me it's like people can only treat you as bad as you let them, it made me so mad. But you know what? They were fucking right. People can only make you feel as most of the time, people can only make you feel as bad as you let them. And then when you realize is like, wait a minute, it doesn't matter what you say. Um, things become a whole hell of a lot easier. I thought the Cormask guy's whole thing was he didn't actually give a shit. He just wanted revenge for his father or some shit. Yeah, he's also a bender, so it's almost like the White Fang are meant to give the lesson that no matter what wrongs your experience, that doesn't justify you being awful to them. Hey Siri, play The World Isn't Black and White Ollie scene. Yeah. It is a little bit of something that Lily takes out her own baggage with gender on men and women. From what I have observed, there's like a lot of anti-masculinity, but also a lot of like I used to call it internalized misogyny, but she doesn't. It's not really internalized when it comes to Lily. I don't know anything about Ruby. Hi, I don't know about Kingdom Hearts, but I do know a lot about Disney characters. Cool, because we are going to be covering that video next.
If you're someone who thinks anti-racist is code for anti-white, this is the only through line in which the White Fang as a villain makes sense. And yes, you knew we were getting to it, Korra does this a lot. Almost all of Legend of Korra's main villains start at a good through line, but then some twist comes up that makes everything they said before completely pointless.
Yeah, it's because Korra is largely concerned with modern politics. That's kind of what it's all about.
Season 1's Amon
Equal
is a socialist
opportunity.
activist who cares about the oppression of non-benders by benders, until it turns out that he doesn't and was just lying and just wants to kill the benders because he's mad about his abusive daddy. And all that Occupy Wall Street iconography falls away because the writers didn't think Occupy Wall Street was a valid protest. Season
Occupy Wall Street? I did not get Occupy Wall Street from that. I got, like, white supremacy rallies from that, but it's whatever.
4's Kuvira wants to stitch the Earth Kingdom back together, but doesn't want to restore an oppressive monarchy like everyone else does, and then declares that she is dictator of the Earth Empire and starts building a giant death robot.
Yeah, Kuvira is might is right. And Lily, I know that you're not actually indigenous, but if you're going to pretend to be, you might as well, like, act like you are against colonialism.
Season 2's Unalaq wants to unify
Welcome,
the northern
Sai.
and southern water tribes and return the art of spirit bending back to the people of the water tribe and reunite the humans with the spirits, and then decides to destroy the Avatar forever, surrender his heart to darkness, and become a giant thorny kaiju that shoots fucking chest lasers from his man titties.
Yeah, because it's cool when kaiju shoot each other with lasers. Fucking, like, it's a show for kids. Like, who cares? You can have your politics, but you also have to have titty lasers. Like, it's fine. We're having a good time watching these people shoot each other with titty lasers. It's okay, Lily. Just enjoy the titty lasers.
Almost every season, it's like, this is an interesting concept to explore in regards to how the world of Avatar works and how the people there have to live their daily lives. And then they build a giant death robot and smash the city!
Yeah, because giant death robots are fucking cool, Lily. It's fine.
All of them go, the status quo is bad, therefore commence genocide, like they got their political theory from fucking Vosh. I'm going to free you of your chains. Of oppression, right? Of mortality. The entire show, you're watching Korra become a stooge for the status quo every single time. The problem isn't that the system is bad, it's that the wrong people are in charge. And then they inevitably change the status quo, like bringing democracy to the Earth Kingdom, and you're left wondering, wait, why wasn't the other person doing this? Why wasn't Kuvira?
It's almost like politics are hard, and Korra's supposed to be a through line for the audience experiencing all these different politics and realizing that you can't just fix something by being a powerful magical like it's supposed to be like, hey, Avatar can't actually fix everything. Gundam breast milk lasers, listen, don't be horny. Mm. I hate that whole yin yang spirit BS. I would say the problem with the yin yang spirit BS is it doesn't really. I liked Korra. I thought it's pretty good, but I've always found this with Avatar, um, including the first one, that it's both such a shade. It's such a shade of actual Eastern philosophy, but also an amalgamation that it ends up being kind of nothing. I don't really like the philosophy of Avatar because it's not very consistent and it's trying to like superimpose like Western ideology on Eastern philosophy and doesn't really work. Hold on. Code JS is a show that talks about politics and has mecha fights. Everybody thinks it's good. Lily doesn't like anime though, so yeah, yin yang balance is not good versus evil. Yeah. There isn't really a concept of evil like that. And I mean, there is, but like, it's not the same as light and dark. But anyway,
Era pushing for democracy. Why wasn't Unalaq trying to combine the human and the spirit worlds again? Why weren't the characters you set up to do these things doing the things? Did you really need a villain that badly? Could you not do this story without a villain? Would it really not work unless someone got in the giant death robot? Or would writing that story make you...
It is a children's cartoon. It's fine, Lily. It's fine, Lily. If like children's cartoons have big robots and giant evil spirits and monsters, it's fine. It really is okay.
The tiniest bit more woke and you couldn't have that. We can't characterize our main villain.
So Lily, did you just want to fuck Kuvira? Is that it? And you just want it the moral okay and pat on the back to say, yeah, go ahead, go plow that little colonialist. It's fine.
Properly, that might get in the way of the 2-episode-long plot divergence to learn about the first Avatar, which was something we apparently needed. It's so nakedly obvious just how protective of the status quo these stories are, and this is the problem with sympathetic villains.
It's really interesting because Lily loves the status quo. Like she's like this is an example of Lily's whole thing where she doesn't actually have like a consistent take. She'll just switch her take to whatever will get her rambling the most in any particular video. Steampunk metal bending robots were creative as fuck. They were.
Rights activists trying to overthrow an unjust status quo are right to do so. It is the morally correct position. A victim of abuse, torture, or rape trying to kill her abuser in vengeance is right to do so. And making these characters hop in the giant death robot so they can randomly do some heinous act of evil so you feel less guilty for wanting to bring them down is very telling about your priorities as a writer. You need them to hop into the death robot because without them doing that, nobody else would be on board with this.
Okay. So I also want to say, and this is a very hot take, but here goes. I don't think anybody, I feel like, did I not talk about this video before? It's hard to tell sometimes because they're all the same, but I feel like I actually did talk about this video before. But anyway, so I personally don't think that anybody is right to kill anyone, even unless you are in immediate harm and not killing them will kill you or other people. Yeah, not their abuser, her abuser. Yeah, she was referencing a specific character. But there is nothing that killing another person, unless they're actively, off a threat and not just like, oh, they did something bad. Like at that point, you're just quenching your own bloodlust. This video is about villains like Magneto.
It's crap. I find season 4 of Korra was probably the most telling because early on the notion that Kuvira was tyrannical was kinda up in the air. Even Korra wasn't on board with
No,
immediately
it's
smoking her.
it was pretty
Everything she
obvious.
was supposedly doing was rumors. So I was honestly expecting the
Lily, again, like I know that you're not actually indigenous, but I think anybody that has been a part of a people that has experienced colonialism would have seen Kuvira as a smoking gun like immediately. But anyway,
story to go, what? No, I'm not a tyrant, you idiots. Of course the bandits said I was. What else were they gonna fucking say? Which would have been interesting and led to some criticism of the main characters for trying to restore the same monarchy that had previously failed the people. You know, that whole Earth Queen thing that we all kind of forgot about last season because the writers were distracted fulfilling their torture fetish. Maybe talk about the fact that the United Republic is a
okay, bringing up fetishes again, that's cool. Actually, probably the answer to this would probably to allow the different provinces in the Earth Kingdom to have sovereignty. Like the world of Avatar at that point was advanced enough that it didn't need to be, it probably never really needed to be ruled in the way it was. But because of the way that, the war against the Fire Nation went, yeah. My problem isn't that she doesn't stay on topic, but that she just rambles from topic to topic without structure. Yeah, the audience is supposed to know because we see her away from the main character, but the main character didn't know. She's using Lisa music, yeah. I haven't played Lisa yet, but it's on the list. Yin Yang is with balance, and the interaction between good and evil, order and chaos is part of it. Trying to make it primarily good versus evil is like trying to make more Christian. Like, yeah, basically, it's a Christian thing. Once again, I'm asking: is Lily a native Canadian? People don't really say native Canadian. Um, she claims to be indigenous. She claims to be part Cherokee, and I it's a complicated issue because she has pulled some receipts showing that yes, her grandfather was Cherokee. He was from Illinois, I think. He moved to Newfoundland and got married. Um, but for the most part, like Lily was not raised with that, and even Hank Pete himself. And I'm saying his name because she has said it multiple times in videos, and so has Courtney. So I feel like it's okay to say. Hank Pete didn't seem to be involved in a tribe until after he moved to Ontario and started hanging around the Wabano Center. Now I've been to the Wabano Center. Um I got to go there for a to help host an event. And um the Wabano Center is one of those, like the tribe that runs it is one of those groups that if you do have indigenous heritage, but connected, um, you haven't been connected to your tribe in a long time, like the tribe that you originate from, they'll kind of adopt you. And from what I understand, that's kind of what happened with Hank. Is he spent a lot of his retired years at the Wabano Center and became like a fixture in the community. But as far as I know, Lily wasn't really interacting him at that point, and I'd have to double check. Give me a moment. Um, I'm not sure what tribe it is. The Wabano Center serves Indigenous people of every background. What territory is it on? I'm not from Ontario, so I'm not sure right off. I've only been there like twice, so. Yeah, one circle, many pass. Wabano Center is very about us. Yeah, I'm not sure what the nation is. Um, but yeah, even if you're not raised in the tribe, if as an adult you get connected to it, that's also fine. If Lily made an honest effort to be connected to the local Mi'kmaq tribe, I'm sure that they would welcome her. I have received, because I also have a very complicated history with that sort of stuff. But I have, I'm connected a little bit, not as much as I'd like to be. It's a little bit difficult if you're an atheist to get connected to um, that culture. Like if you're like the whole double whammy of like not being raised in that culture and then also being an atheist makes it really hard for me to get connected to it, but I still get connected to it. I'm kind of like a sit down and listen kind of guy rather than like talking about it myself because, like I did again, I didn't grow up in the culture. Don't I mean like I kind of pass as like a vaguely exotic sort of white person. It's complicated. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get in touch with your heritage if you're indigenous, but like the fact that Lily spouts some weird colonialist bullshit like this is weird, you know? Okay, now I'm gonna scroll up a little bit because I missed chat. Yeah. Yeah, she is not. She is technically does have the heritage. She's just not like that doesn't matter. You throw a rock at any Canadian, in any group of Canadians, you're bound to hit somebody that has some indigenous heritage. Whether or not it's actually part of who they are is another question. But yeah, she is also brown facing because she's not that dark. But anyway. I wouldn't I don't I wouldn't go so far to say as Lily has lived a privileged life. I think she's been through a lot, but that's like no excuse. One thing that I'm kind of like trying to discourage with like Lily critical people is to like label everything she's ever done as bad or let like oh she's so had it so easy and everything was handed to her and she just turned out like this because she's inherently evil. Like that's not really how it goes. I feel like if we start saying this against bad actors in our community, it's going to be hard for us to pick them out when it's like, hey, this person was through a lot and they're doing this bad thing, so it's okay that they're doing this bad thing because they've been through a lot, Isn't it? Okay. Time for another dose of the world isn't black and white. Yeah, the world is not black and white. The most ironic thing regarding Lily and her take on villains is that based on her personal preferences, Emperor Balos should be a hero, yet she openly despises him. Lily isn't in her community at all, but also says people will call her a squaw, who I've never heard anybody call anyone that. I'm going to be honest with you that the thing that Lily would most likely be called is a dog. I've been called a dog. It's basically like it can mean just a person who lives on a res, but it can also mean like a mixed race person. And it's been thrown at me a couple times, especially when I was young and I looked more mixed race. I kind of don't look as dark or anything as I do as I did as a kid now, mostly because I spend way too much time indoors. Missed the beginning of the stream, but my skin crawls with the thought of her talking about Disney, about early Disney because I felt like she would blame. Yeah, we're not there yet. We're almost done in this video. Thinks the kind of physical pain is only used for torture fetish. Yeah, we're supposed to be uncomfortable by Korra going through pain. Like Lily's childhood. Yeah, her parents fucked her up. I mean, Courtney was also part of that childhood, and she doesn't act like this. Um, Ironically, she does not believe in the cycle of abuse. Yeah, ironically.
Literal conquered settler state. That would have been good. That would have been cool. But I guess
Wait, what?
Republic is a literal conquered settler state. That would have been that whole Earth Queen thing that we all kind of forgot about last season because the writers were distracted fulfilling their torture fetish. Maybe talk about the fact that the United Republic is a literal conquered settler state. That would have been good. That would have been cool.
But you want okay, so it is a conquered settler state. But you're also saying that what Kuvira is doing is good, actually. Okay, whatever.
I guess that would have ended with a conversation instead of fucking Mechagodzilla smashing up a city. I guess that.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, like but Lily, that would not be as interesting as like for a kids show premise as yeah. You just want a whole different show, and that's fine, but like don't watch this show if you don't want giant mecha or death robots.
would have struck a little too close to home for these two white guys. You see the problem, right? Sympathetic villains only work under a very particular framework, and that framework is about as moral and ethical as the fucking Lich King. If you're someone who thinks civil rights protesters go too far when they're disruptive, they aren't the villains of that story. You are. The problem with This Can Work If It's Done Well is that this, in and of itself,
Again, it's really I feel like, okay, I'm gonna give Lily the benefit of the doubt. I think if she made this video today, she probably I feel like her opinion would change. I don't think she's that stupid. I think she probably would have kind of internalized and might have a dialogue with herself about the Israel-Palestine situation. I would hope.
is not a trope. This is the end result of using tropes badly. If you did it well to begin with, it wouldn't have ended up like this. Let's workshop. Doing the trope of anti-oppression group as antagonist well is understanding how this actually works in real life. So the villainy has to come from propaganda. Kind of like exactly what this style of villain is in the first place. It's propaganda. So that when you see this, you will connect it with this. It's propaganda. It's literal fucking propaganda.
But it does happen. Also, like, Israel has been occupying Palestine for decades, right? And it's not like the first time this kind of thing happens. And we're seeing it on a bigger scale because Bismuth again. Fucking off with Bismuth. She's not a villain. Bismuth isn't a villain. But yeah, I feel like if there's somebody that is hurting and takes out their own baggage on you, like, it's supposed to evoke that. You know? Like, it's I feel like she's seeing it being exaggerated to be this whole world sweeping event when most people aren't going to directly encounter people like that in their day-to-day lives. They're only going to counter in bullies that are feeling their own pain. You know? Yeah, Steven Universe mentioned.
Struggle for liberation and equality is immediately, the moment you think about it,
Kids'
the
cartoons
morally
are
correct side of the
propaganda.
argument. The
That's
real
definitely
villain
not
is
an
the
unhinged
status quo
conspiracy.
itself and
Yep.
those who enforce it. And
Yes. Good job, Lily. Bismuth wasn't the bad guy. Rose Quartz was the bad guy in that situation. You understood. Yay! Good job, Lily. Good job. Yay! I feel like a parent, like, clapping because this child managed to, like, take a couple steps before falling flat on their face. Jesus Christ.
so the third act twist for the protagonist is that they've been lied to, that they've been supporting an oppressive status quo, and that makes them the bad guy. Plot twist, the totally relatable main hero you can project onto is the one getting the redemption arc, and
Isn't that the plot of Korra? Like, it's been a couple years, but isn't that what happened? Is that Korra was like, wait a minute, I'm doing something bad. I need to make up for it.
actually going to redeem themselves by switching sides completely. That's the only way anti-oppression group as antagonist works. It's the only way a sympathetic villain works at all, because any sensible writer would have looked at your outline and gone, wait, why aren't these guys the main characters? You can't make the anti-oppression group the bad guys unless you sincerely believe that being anti-oppression is bad. And if you do believe that, then you are bad.
Alright, I'm gonna take a look at the chat while I figure out how to... Are we trying to figure out if Lily supports Israel? No, I'm saying that, like, I feel like if she made this video today, it would be a lot more nuanced. I'd like to think that of Lily. If she's Andy as a villain along with Lapis, yeah. Pretty sure we never supposed to think of Bismuth as a bad guy. If she was, they wouldn't have revived her. Again, yeah, I pointed that out earlier in the stream. When she talked about the Avatar comics, she called the people of Republic City colonizers when the people that live there have been born on the land for 3 generations. It's almost like Steven Universe discovering his mom was capable of bad and messy things. Only you project onto every main character. Yeah. Why did she show Arthur Dent? Who knows, honestly. Korra is really sheltered and had to learn the world is way more complicated. Yeah, like, Korra is about, like, growing up and realizing that, hey, I can't just say these people good, these people evil. Also, Lily, if you look at the background right now, you'll see that there are a father and his 3 very young children tied up and gagged. And if you can look at that and say, these people are the bad guys, like, what about Lily's output makes you think she's capable of being better? I don't know. I just would, I just would like to hope that it is. But yeah, also, Amon's whole thing is, I'm going to disable these people. See, that's an interesting thing. So Ammon is according to Lily, Ammon is considered to be, um, he's equalizing the playing ground. But, um, but Aang was permanently disabling, um, Fire King Ozai. That's interesting. I love how she just this is what I mean about her not being consistent. Ammon is listening, not falling for a leader who seems to be for your cause but has bad ulterior motives. Yeah.
The problem is that this idea of all villainy being nuanced and complicated has just never really been true. Evil people in real life will often just invent justifications
drop
for
something, don't worry
things
about
they
it.
already wanted to do. And there's a point where someone crosses the line
Her
of
content
evil
is
so much
nothing
that nothing they
burger.
say earns them sympathy. Your wages are stagnant because your boss is a greedy little shit who only cares about increasing his big pile of money, and nothing he says can change that, and all of his hardships are worth laughing at.
Yeah, but what about the middle manager that can barely feed himself and afford rent and is expected to fire a bunch of people, um, not out of greed, but for his own survival? Like, that's a complicated character. Not everybody that has like a little bit of power is an awful person, and oftentimes, especially if they have a limited amount of authority and power, um, they're in a pretty shitty position themselves. Yeah.
Gee, I wonder why these stories are never done well. We could unpack why, but maybe we should just do it 1,000 more times and hope luck is on our side. The problem with my idea for these kind of villains is that they inherently make white viewers of any gender uncomfortable because it might say something about their tacit support of the status quo. And that's the only
Lily, you are a white person.
reason these kind of stories are popular, because they say to a complacent audience, you are already doing the right.
Also, I'm really sorry. I know I wanted to talk because I have got a little goobery, goofy little guy. But like, what is going on with this? I've only seen it in a few videos, but that is an ugly ass fucking avatar. Like, what is going on with the eyes? Like, what is perspective? Why is like one of the eyes like really bugged out? Like, I don't get it. Anyway, sorry, that was mean. Sorry, Michaela.
Thing,
Yeah.
and anyone who asks
I
you
don't
to
like this is
reconsider what
probably
you're
my
doing is
least
actually
favorite
a
of her
liar,
avatars.
or they're in bad faith, or they're piloting a fucking death robot right now. And that's why I'll never be on board with these kind of villains, because they weren't written for me, and they will never be written for me. They're written for assholes. When will the animation Dork Age end?
Okay. So X-Men 97. I'm just gonna. As a black guy, this was better than when she tried to talk about back problems. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure it was. So. I'm just gonna put that on loop while I talk. So. In X-Men 97, they did a very interesting thing. Spoilers for X-Men 97. Hold on. Michaela made the avatar for Lily in a stream during which Lily was breathing down her neck, going, "Make the boobs bigger and the waist smaller" the whole time. Ooh, that's uncomfortable. How do you make your closing statement? This style of writing isn't for me, and if you like it, it makes you a bad person. I feel like if I was in high school and I wrote essays like Lily wrote her videos, I would lose a third of the points for being off topic. Yeah. Anyway, I just wouldn't draw for Lily personally. Anyway. So the whole thing with X-Men 97 was that Charles Xavier seems to have died. And Magneto, it was in his last will and testament that Magneto would then come in to run the X-Men. Like, he would be the new leader of the X-Men. He would be taking Charles Xavier's place. And to his credit, Magneto gives it the good college try. He's like, all right, well, my friend is dead, but he had a dream and he had a way that he wanted to do things. If I'm going to be the leader of the X-Men, I should act like it. I will try to be true to his dream. And he does that. And people are awful to him about it. Nobody trusts him. There's an attack on the mutant nation of Genosha. It gets firebombed and, like, destroyed. And, like, a bunch of characters, including Gambit, die. Madeline Pryor dies. It's really, really quite sad, and it's really shocking, and, like, they've never done anything like that in the original X-Men before. Like, nobody's ever been, like, so brutally killed like that before in the X-Men cartoon. There was, like, a lot of blood. Like, it was rough. I wouldn't say it was quite like that moment in Invincible when it became a violent show, but it was very similar in feeling. And there's a moment where this woman is like, I have these awful dreams sometimes. And this is a human woman, like an ally of the X-Men in politics. And she's like, and you know what the most awful thing about my nightmares are? It's not people like you. It's the deep, awful truth that, I just keep hearing in myself that Magneto was right. And that was kind of a thing in, like, the 90s and the early 2000s, that Magneto is right. But people tend to think that Magneto was right means Magneto is justified in his actions. The thing that Magneto is right about is that like, if you just let them, like, humans will wipe the mutants, like, off the face of the earth. Tolerance is extinction. Like, you cannot tolerate bigotry. It will kill you. Now, how... Thank you so much for the follow, I think. Yeah, thanks for the subscription. But yeah. It's really complicated in terms of, like, in terms of how you then go about fixing that problem. He was right about the problem. He was not right about the solution. Anyway. Gonna scroll up a little bit, read back in chat. Lily Orchard, is a walking example of the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's pretty impressive. Mhm. It's a good characterization for Magneto that he respects Xavier enough to lead the X-Men. Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, and I think this is a good modern update for Magneto. Um, that he really needed. The character needed an update. And we're kind of going in the direction of him still having like very, very stringent ideas. And he's the voice of mutants. And like the angry voice of mutants, if we're honest. But that anger is completely justified. Um, but we need to find out what Magneto is going to do with that anger. And I'm really excited to find out. And it's not like he's an unkind guy. He just doesn't like humans. And even in this, he didn't see himself as superior. He said it's more of like a, hey, it's us versus them, and it's not me who said that. Um, okay. I just want to say this. I do not want us to make any assumptions about the relationship between Lily and Michaela. For all we know, it's perfectly healthy and they love each other. Lily is a complicated person, yes, but we have no reason to believe that there's anything wrong with that relationship. And I think assuming that all of Lily's relationships are going to be bad and awful and she can only cause hurt and pain, that's the kind of behavior that was like, hey, well, this guy's nice to me, so how could they be awful to you? Like, it doesn't make sense because I've never seen them be awful to you. Like, people can be awful to somebody and be nice to another person. So until we hear otherwise, I have no reason to believe that Michaela and Lily don't have a perfectly fine, healthy relationship and they love each other very much. Okay? So let's not make assumptions about Michaela and Lily's relationship, please, in my chat. That's my request. None of that. No misgendering Lily. Um, yeah, that's a standard that I've got to set. Magneto and Xavier have always been friends on the same side, but with completely incompatible methods. Yep. Yep. But they still value each other's thoughts and opinions. Going after spouses and family members below the belt. Yep. Yeah, and I'm mostly interested in like talking about her media analysis, not about the drama. Um, I'm not saying that the drama isn't more important. It's that I am not equipped to talk about the drama. I should say drama because there's some pretty serious allegations, but like, yeah. I think we all have our own assumptions and guesses, but we should not be like throwing them around like playground rumors. That's very unkind of us and very like it can muddy the waters. I don't know much about X-Men, but the way you describe it, Magneto sounds like a more sane Suguro Geto from Jujutsu Kaisen. I haven't actually watched Jujutsu Kaisen. I mean to because Gojo pretty and I'm such a simp for like the white-haired anime boy thing. I will be very normal when I watch Jujutsu Kaisen. I promise. I promise I'll be really normal about Gojo. And I won't get a bunch of weird figurines of him. I'll be really normal. Okay, anyway. We're gonna go ahead and watch the other video. So
My life has been
okay. So I actually prefer this avatar. So I'm glad we've got the kind of shrumpy the frumpy sweater Lily. I like this one a lot better. One that looks like a Disney character. So yeah, we're gonna pivot to the complete Disney roundup in a minute roundup compilation. This is an hour and a half long. I don't know if we're gonna get through the whole thing. I've already been streaming for an hour, so let's freaking go. And I will only read out chat. I'll keep reading it, but I'll only like read it out loud because I'm getting more activity than I ever do on Twitch. Yeah, her ex-partner drew this. 1 hour and 24 minutes. Yay! Yeah, but I will get through basically this is nowhere near as bad as our Pokemon video. Alright, here we go. Here we go. I will pause to read chat if I see a relevant comment. But I am looking at everything. Here we go.
You know, my life has been pretty great ever since I broke that witch's curse.
What are you talking about, Lily?
Of all the movies I had to watch for this project, Snow White was the one I was least looking forward to. It's a really slow boil, running for about 80 minutes, but containing only 20 minutes of actual content. It's so incredibly nothing. I'm surprised it.
Before we go much further than this, I would compare the original Snow White, and not to be like a nerd, I would compare it more to an opera than like a musical. You know, like it's kind of just like music with story as a set piece, you know? And it's not for everybody, but like it was also the first of its kind. So I feel like we could be a little bit more charitable towards Snow White.
How little actually happens in it and how much the film is padded with, I'm not going to say musical numbers, more like tediously dragged out songs. Maybe Disney didn't want to add too much of a plot since the 1938 audience would have seen drawings moving on a big screen and start panicking because they thought it was the symbol of the end times. I wouldn't say Snow White is aged poorly, as that would imply that it was ever actually any good. Snow White birthed many terrible Disney trends that took almost 100 years to shake off, and contains probably the second creepiest introduction for a love interest ever. Why does this story even end with a romance anyway? These two have like no chemistry.
Again, like very similar to an opera. I don't know if anybody here has ever watched an opera, but like it's basically the way that the way that it reads, like it's not opera music, but it's like identical to how an opera story would be told. Most old cartoons were set to music too. Yes, it were. Snow White was a fairly simple story meant to showcase what animation could do at a feature length. Yeah, it was basically like a tech demo. And people were pretty impressed just by the fact that it was animation. It was captivating.
The romance is just shoehorned in for the sake of having it. Maybe Disney should have spent less time pushing a heterosexual agenda and more time writing a story. I'm joking, but if the prince was a princess, there would be about 150 YouTubers making the exact same argument with total sincerity. What are
you fucking talking about? Sorry, I had to do the right into the mic thing. Certified Lily moment. We've got to that moment in the stream.
he really needs is gay princesses.
I want to take a bath with a toaster.
Does anybody actually fondly remember Pinocchio? Because
Yes.
I don't have much to say about it that I didn't already say about Snow White. It's a lot of fluff padding with very little story, and the whole lesson about staying on the straight and narrow is so outrageously vague. I was trying to make the Disney Project roundups longer since there were fewer of them, but I just don't have anything to say about it. Oh yeah, the way they portrayed the Romani puppeteer is...
Yeah.
Yikes.
It
How about
is,
next
yep.
time, instead of the racist caricature, you add some gay princesses? Dumbo is a movie about a cute elephant baboon.
I'm not gonna be lesbophobic simply because Sai is in my chat, but I sure no, I'm kidding. Lesbians are awesome. My mom's a lesbian, and she's like one of my favorite people in the whole wild world. I love lesbians. You go lesbians. Lesbians are awesome. But the way that Lily says it is so like voyeuristic and like like movies would be better if they had cute lesbians in them. Shut up, Lily. It's not like it's not meant to tantalize you, you fucking freak. God.
Babu, and that's about it. I like the cute elephant Babu, but I'd be lying if I said the movie was about anything else. Dumbo's ultimate goal isn't
Yeah.
anything big, he just wants snuggles from his mama. What I do find interesting is that this is the absolute nadir of Disney's old school obsession with musical numbers. I get the feeling that Walt never got over the fact that Fantasia was something of a flop that almost bankrupted the company and was trying for the longest time to fit Fantasia-esque moments into all of his other movies. And dear lord, the Crows. I always knew the Crows were racist caricatures, but holy shit, seeing them in person for the first time just... oh.
Is this the first time she watched Dumbo?
Oh lord, that's uncomfortable. The leader of the Crows is named Jim. Jim Crow. You know, Disney was long rumored to have been a Nazi sympathizer, and watching most of his older movies, I'm starting to see exactly why people got that impression. These old Disney movies go beyond the casual racism of the age and into some pretty horrible depictions of non-white people.
So what I would actually like is I would actually really like if I would really like if she like analyzed this and like kind of teased it out a little bit and why they're racist and which racial stereotypes that they're leaning into and why they're harmful and like how Black culture like influenced a lot of movies and music like this and how it's kind of ironic that like there was like a lot of jazz elements in like early Disney stuff but also like they were racist as hell. Like there's so much you could say about racism and Disney, but all she's doing is saying, "Hey, did you guys know that Disney was racist? Yeah, we know that. Could you say something about it, please?"
So it's not a baseless accusation made against Walt. These movies are pretty fucked up. How about you edit out the racism and edit in something better?
That okay. Lily, you're cringe. Not the
Like gay
Disney.
princesses. The deer dies, and that's literally all you fucking care about. For real, prove me wrong in the comments. What is one scene you remember from Bambi that isn't the death of Bambi's mother?
The ice skating theme, the theme where I really love when Bambi gets its antlers tangled in the tree branch of blossoms and like Felice kind of gets a little kiss on the nose. I like that scene in the clover patch where Thumper's like, "Don't eat the green stuff," and then his mom is like, "Thumper, what did your father tell you?" Like Thumper's such a he's such a little character. I love him. I remember that time. I love the scene where Bambi's very shy and Felice is teasing him and running around. Like I've seen kids do that, where like a little girl kind of like kisses a little boy on the cheek, and he like acts like he's like all freaked out, but he like it's kind of like very curious about her too. Like it's very cute. But anyway, yeah, I really like Bambi. I love the music. I love the rainfall scene. I think the opening bit where the owl is acting all grumpy, but he gets really into the birth of the young prince of the forest. Like I like Bambi. Do not come for Bambi. I will fucking kill you. Also, Bambi's dad, like, people are always like, "Ooh, Kovu from Lion King was kinda hot," but you know what? Bambi's dad. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. Uh, Flower? I like Flower too. Flower's very cute. I love Flower. He's such a cute little guy. I actually really like that they had, like, this kinda little gender non-conforming skunk, like this gay little skunk. Um, I mean, I know that he gets together with a girl at the end, but, you know.
The death of Bambi's mother isn't even all that impressive. It's been held up as some horrible moment of scary Disney movies for so long that its
Yeah, I
reputation
never
has
saw
far
it.
outweighed
Is
what it
that
actually deserved. Everyone gets over it pretty quickly. Not
Am
helped by
I
the story
kidding?
time jumping
Am
away.
I?
Maybe we could tell a story about young grief? No, prancing deer. Given how soulless the rest of the movie is and how quickly everyone forgets it, it almost feels like the death scene was
Soulless? There's so much personality in the characters, like, and I really like that they actually studied how real animals moved and interacted with each other and, like, spent some time with baby deers and bunnies and skunks so that they could like, that was kind of one of the first times that they were really like, "Hey, instead of, like, just drawing what we think a deer looks like, let's study a deer and really get to know about it."
in specifically to give people something to remember. The whole Bambi's mom thing is meant to show that man is the greatest evil in the world.
No, it's not. It's meant to say that, hey, sometimes tragedy happens and you still have to keep going. That's a weird reading. But anyway. And
many people have pretentiously echoed that sentiment, but it's not.
You know what? I think the problem is that Lily spent a lot of time with people with bronies, and bronies are like often quite edgy dude bros. I mean, like she wrote Stockholm. Like we know what kind of people she hung out with. Um, like if she's gonna be friends with somebody that will role play out Stockholm with her, then like like of course you're hanging around with guys that fixate on things like Bambi's death. I think it's still a nostalgia critic joke of environmental movies. Yeah.
Man that kills Bambi's mother. It's sport hunters. Sport hunters are some of the biggest losers in the world. We're always mocking what sniveling little cowards they are. Hell,
We actually don't know if it's a sport hunter. Like for all we know, it's a person that's hunting for food. It doesn't really matter. It's not really tantamount to the plot. Like it's so it's it's so like it doesn't matter. Like the you're not supposed there isn't really a villain. It's just that Bambi's mother dies and now he's all alone. Or at least it feels like that in the winter. But then he does have friends and he forms the new relationships and yeah.
they're the villain in Beauty and the Beast. If Bambi's mom happened today, it'd be considered an echo to Cecil the lion. In fact,
Also, it's very likely that Gaston wasn't just a sports hunter. Like he probably was also like feeding half the village, and that's why he had so much. That's why he was so financially well off. Like I'm not a big Gaston fan, but like like the whole I'm a hunter and I'm not. I think it's supposed to be the 60s. I believe that's what the original book. When the original book take place. I'm thinking of the Fox and the Hound. I think. It's also Hungarian, 1922. So it's probably set like in the early 20th century. Anyway. Again, keep in mind that like Bambi does not take place in the United States. It takes place in Hungary.
it might not even be a sport hunter. It could just be a poor, hungry, ordinary person trying desperately
Yeah,
to fill
exactly.
her cooking pot. A lot of people just forget everything else that happens in
Okay, I'm sorry, but one of my least favorite kinds of performative feminism is like replacing like is using she as a default pronoun. I'm really sorry, but I hate that bullshit. Like you're trying to be progressive. Um edit your script slowly. You're trying to be progressive, but like you can't go the extra step and just use gender neutral language. Like it's weird. Like it's such a weird like performative feminism thing.
the film because it's a lot of prancing around and generally waffling. The only scenes that can arguably called a story are Bambi standing up, the meadow, the death scene, and the fire. And that's not a lot for an hour-long movie, and much of
There's also like Bambi encountering Winter for the first time, Bambi encountering Felice for the first time. Everybody getting coupled up after springtime comes around. Like like there's plenty of story in Bambi. It's just it doesn't shove it in your face and it doesn't hold your hand throughout the whole story. Honestly, I'm surprised Lily doesn't like it more because it's very like lighthearted and easy and floaty and like it's the kind of story that Lily likes. So I don't know why she's so upset about it. Try to tell me my dear movie doesn't take place in America. Yes, I am.
It amounts to very little. It's the same problem that every other early Disney movie has. Walt really likes waffling around and really doesn't like telling stories. This is the problem with overhyping older movies based on a scene that doesn't age well, and we really need to stop doing it. Maybe next time, just add some gay princesses.
Okay, I'm gonna murder her about Cinderella. I have very big opinions about Cinderella, but also shut up, Lily. I loved it. I love Bambi. You don't have to like it, but I do.
You know, I think this might be my favorite of the old pre-Little Mermaid Disney movies. It
Oh,
certainly aged quite
okay,
well compared to the
okay.
others surrounding it, like a fine wine surrounded by month-old cheese. There's been a lot of claims that Cinderella is the epitome with everything wrong with old-school Disney, and that Cinderella is just sitting around and waiting for her happily ever after to come get her. But honestly, that's such a bad read of not just the film, but the very concept of storytelling. First of all, Cinderella's not just waiting around, she's suffering some pretty horrible abuse at the hands of her stepmother. She ultimately doesn't even want a happily ever after. She just wants one nice night for herself, to which her friends decide to help her get because she works her ass off. She deserves it. It's the king who engineered the whole thing because his son was just so disinterested in getting married. Yeah, the fairy godmother magically undoing Lady Tremaine's bullshit might
Rare Lily Orchard W? Hello? Okay, Lily, go off.
seem weird, but the movie is really dead set on showing how petty and controlling Tremaine actually is. So this is just another instance of that, and the fairy godmother is quite literally karma acting on both her and Cinderella. One sticking point I do have, though, is that I don't think Lady Tremaine is scary. And when I say that, people get confused because I had an abusive mother when I was a kid who pretty much behaved rather similar to Tremaine, but I was in that small percentage of abused kids who became teenagers and just accepted the fact that my parents were gonna try and hurt me regardless of what I do, so I started fighting back and butting heads with them and challenging them a lot.
Yeah, I've heard things that it went outside of just challenging your parents, but we're not going to talk about that in this video. I'm waiting for her to ruin this.
Parents' abuse tactics were forced to change because if they got as physical and vindictive with me as Tremaine did, they were not going to come out of that without a bloody nose or two.
Keep away from me.
You're not allowed to do magic outside school.
Yeah? Try me.
And one
How old is this? 3 years ago? Lily, come on. You should know better than to reference Harry Potter in a time like this.
Once you do that, once you start damning the consequences and fighting back against an abuser, you start to see just how childish, poorly adjusted, and poorly raised they are. You start to see them for exactly the kind of person they would have to be to think this is acceptable behavior. Their yelling turns from a terrifying harbinger of doom and into eye-rolling contempt at their latest petulant tantrum. So I find Tremaine annoyingly irritating rather than just scary, but I don't mean that as a criticism. In fact, that makes me like Lady Tremaine more as a villain because I see how petty, cowardly, and spiteful she is. The things she does just to spite and hurt Cinderella are so childish that it's hard to be scared of her, and that's actually—
You know what would have probably have happened? Yeah, let's stop trauma dumping there, Lily. But you know what probably would have happened if Cinderella had acted out against her stepmother? She would have been sent to an insane asylum. And she probably would have had awful things done to her. I don't think you understand, Lily, how awful it would have been for a girl like Cinderella to be either out on the streets or locked up as a fucking nut job. So, she was doing what she could to survive. And I hope she goes where I think she's gonna go with her. But let's see.
what made me like her more in my adulthood. It's funny seeing people look at moments of simple altruism and declare it unrealistic, since in real life your fate can live or die on whether or not you make a good first impression to the right people, especially in the age of GoFundMe where everyone gets to be the fairy godmother. And that's kinda the point. If I could humble brag for a minute, a few months ago someone came to me asking about signal boosting a GoFundMe for a friend who was suffering an abusive mother of her own and needed to get money for a long distance bus ticket to get out of the state and go stay with her girlfriend. When he told me the amount was $115, I told him not to bother with GoFundMe and just give me her PayPal address and I'd give her the money myself. That's something your pop progressive hot take misses. You don't need a magical fairy godmother or superhero to help you out of a bad situation. What you need is someone, anyone, with a pair of eyes, a voice, and 10 cents worth of compassion. It says something about you that you think compassion is unrealistic. But I'll tell you what does bother me, and what honestly just ruins the entire movie, is that the fairy godmother explicitly tells Cinderella to be gay, and then she doesn't do that. Like, come on, Cinderella, you had one job. This is a terrible plot hole, Disney. Do it again, but with gay princesses.
Okay, here's something that I don't hear people talk about Cinderella a lot. So, and they did kind of hammer this in the remake, and I feel like they shouldn't have had to, but this whole be brave and be kind. Um, so when we hear, be brave and be kind thing, this is being brave in the face of someone like Tremaine. Um, yeah, she says, "Go, be dance, be gay." Like that's the whole telling her to be gay thing. But it's meant to like have a good time, be jovial. But yeah, so the whole being kind thing, it was aimed at her little animal companions. Um, Now Tremaine held and the stepsisters held Cinderella in such a delicate, vulnerable position for all of her life. Hello, Dr. Krim. I didn't know you're streaming. Yeah, I'm streaming. Um, so, but when Cinderella was faced with like vermin and mice and like little creatures that, she could have killed, she could have hurt, she could have put in traps and drowned. This awful cat that was, that belonged to her stepmother. She says that, "Hey, I'm not going to be cruel to them. I'm going to be kind to them because it's wrong to hurt people that are weaker than you." I'm not a doctor. Somebody just called me doctor. But, like, she could have so easily have hurt all of these mice, and she could have, like, hurt Lucifer the cat, but she didn't. Um, she was kind to them, and her kindness eventually paid off. Like, the fairy godmother isn't the one that saved Cinderella. It was her friends. Um Oh, you're joking. My bad. That was the Tism moment. Yeah. But it's not don't treat Tremaine like shit. It's don't treat weaker people like shit just because people treat you like shit, you know? Um, because she had been kind to these little animals, they worked their ass off to get that key up to her to, save her from this life. Also the whole and Lily kind of touched on this but didn't really go into detail. Um, the whole like, "Oh, like, we gotta find whoever fits his slipper" thing is a technicality. The prince is throwing a little tantrum, and he's all heartbroken. He's like, "I'll only marry the woman that fits this slipper." Being all melodramatic. We That happens off screen, but come on, like, of course he was like that. Like, I'm only gonna marry the woman who belongs to the shoe. They have to fit perfectly in the shoe, or I won't marry them." And then the king is like, "Oh, he said that, did he?" And he's like to his duke, he's like, "Get out there and just find whatever woman, the first woman that fits in that shoe, bring her here and get her married to my son. He said that that's who he would marry, so we're gonna hold him to it." But then it just so happens that absolutely nobody else other than Cinderella can fit that shoe because it's a magical shoe. That's the whole thing. Like Disney at the time was trying to deconstruct that story to point out that, yeah, it is a little stupid for a prince to only go off based of a shoe. So instead, we're going to explain it away as the king trying to trick his son on a technicality, but the shoe is magical, so it doesn't work. Like that's the whole point of that.
This movie is a trip. And I don't just mean because it's full of nonsense. We all know by now that Alice in Wonderland is the acid trip to end all acid trips. But what
Lily, you are a teetotaler. You are like so straight edge. Like, despite being an awful person, like you're so straight edge that what do you know about acid trips? Come on, Lily. Like, be real with me.
really sells the whole thing is Alice herself. She's just so deadpan and reserved about everything that she turns around into the best thing in the entire movie. Where most acid trip movies fail is that they try and use the viewer as a gauge for how nuts everything is getting. But Alice in Wonderland keeps Alice around to be just weirded out enough by everything going on around her.
I mean, look, I don't really get the whole acid trip thing. Like, again, like, I'm also, like, pretty straight-laced. I've never tried acid, but, like, yeah. Yeah, it was criticized at the time for being too safe. I think they could have pushed it.
That you really get a feel for just how fucking bizarre the entire world is. There's a lot of charm in this movie that I wasn't expecting because I'm just so used to old Disney movies relying so hard on the novelty of there being pictures moving to carry them. Alice in Wonderland has a lot of breathing room in between its really big set pieces to let you get settled and let Alice do what Alice does best and snark all over Wonderland. There's one point toward the middle of the movie where Alice is crying because she's lost and can't find her way home and starts singing about how she just can't seem to follow her own advice and keeps wandering off, chasing the next thing that catches her eye. It's a really sad moment because she's just a little girl and yet she's gotten so in over her head because she just can't focus on what she's supposed to be doing. I felt more genuine sadness here than I did in Bambi, which yanked so hard on the heartstrings it accidentally tore them out so I couldn't feel feelings anymore. Despite being seemingly all over the place, Alice in Wonderland is a surprisingly grounded and small-scale movie, a lot more charming and genuinely heartwarming than Bambi could have.
I've been twisted pilled. I can't look at, like, Alice in Wonderland the same. Sorry, I see Twisted Wonderland.
Ever hoped to be.
Honestly, I hate the whole thing that, like, oh, here, look at this really imaginative thing that it's really creative and weird and, like, kind of, like, interesting and, like, has really strange, cool visuals. Whoever made this must have been high. Like, I hate that mentality. It's so stupid. Like, people can just be creative, you know?
Unfortunately, like every Disney movie, it's severely brought down by the total lack of gay princesses. Disney movies and racism have historically.
Oh, oh boy. See, Lily's got to get really worked up about this one because she pretends to be indigenous herself, so I've had good ideas while high, but more often sober. Here's the thing, when you're like, after you get sober, like, when you're high, you don't wanna do any work. So, by the time you get sober, you have to come up with new ideas anyway. Anyway. So
Gone together like bronies and child sex trafficking, but honestly,
true, Lily. You would know.
Peter Pan is just trying to see what he can get away with. Almost the entire first half of the film is taken up by an extended series of racist jokes that culminate in an extended musical number of... oh, dear fucking lord. You know, for a lot of these more problematic movies, I've been going back to watch Doug Walker's Disney-cember series on each of these movies, and there's a...
She just literally admits to, like, watching Doug Walker's videos as research. Lily? Lily, you're not supposed to do that. Lily, if you want to make a video about Doug Walker's takes on Disney movies, do that. Lily, Lily, what are you doing? Caught in 4K, Lily Orchard. Come on, like. So yeah, okay. So I see. She was ripping off his Cinderella opinions. So that's why her Cinderella opinions were actually not that bad. Like, say what you want about Doug, but, like, you know, sometimes he has some okay takes. Not always, but sometimes. her dad, Lily Orchard's dad is not indigenous, I'm pretty sure. I think it's her mom. Maybe her dad? I don't know. It was her grandfather was part um had like a smaller blood quantum, but yeah. It seems like he didn't really get connected to an indigenous tribe until after he moved to Ontario and started going to the Wabano Center, which is kind of like a more open thing, and like if you aren't connected to your local tribe, it's a good place to go because it's welcoming of all tribes. So,
trend where something so absurdly racist that it gets criticism decades later
maternal
comes on screen,
grandfather,
and
right?
Doug goes, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was cool. And just... Man, that really encapsulates everything wrong with this bearded hack. What
Okay,
Made the
so
Red Man Red is still a song that makes me angry every time I hear it, and I'm still to this day furious that Josh had the gall to put it at the end of that one video we did together. I bet if he had Sketchy on, he would be seriously considering how to sneak an N-word into the video. But enough talking about
I love how Lily is like addicted to throwing anyone that's ever tolerated her that has decided that they've had enough with her under the bus.
sad little boys who don't want to grow up. Let's talk about Peter Pan. Peter Pan is an okay movie. It was never anything groundbreaking and just kind of sailed along. It was the Wreck-It Ralph of its day. Peter himself is a perpetually adolescent child with a really big bug up his ass about women, and most of the story perpetually involves him getting the shit kicked out of him for it. Honestly though, Tinkerbell's the really weird part of the movie. I'd seen this movie when I was a kid, but it only just occurred to me how aggressively sexualized she is. I've seen female characters be treated like window dressing, but Tinkerbell is just the most. It's kind of creepy. I know I've said this a dozen times already, but Walt, what's wrong with you? I mean, I know you can't answer me because you're dead, but what's...
What? Okay, so I know that, like, Tinkerbell's a bit of a pinup girl. But I wouldn't call it creepy. Like, I don't know, like, maybe she was based on a model. Yeah. I don't know. Aggressively sexualized, like, just touches her, like, very, like, formal, like, she's shapely, but it's not like her boobs are spilling out of her gown. She's just a little conceited and, like, she's a pretty fairy with a fairly, I don't know.
wrong with you? Speaking of which, I knew the movie had a really racist segment in it regarding the native tribe, but...
Okay, Lily. I'm not a big fan of the racist stuff in Peter Pan either. But you already went on a rant about it. Can we move on?
Okay, usually Disney racism can be powered through because it's only a small piece of the film, but this takes up almost half the movie. Between everyone chanting, "We're off to fight the Injuns," and the constant racist remarks being made the whole way, to Captain Hook saying "Redskin," and then the musical number that implies native people are red because they're perpetually blushing and insisting that it's true no matter what is written or said, and I just... Walt, what's wrong with you? I've said this twice in one roundup. Just what's wrong with you? The amount of racism in Disney movies is almost comical in its absurdity, and it baffles me how extreme it gets sometimes. There are times where Disney movies feel like they were actually made by the mutant offspring of H.P. Lovecraft and Rebecca Sugar, and people always come back at me.
Steven Universe mentioned. Oh my god. What is this thing with Rebecca Sugar being racist like that? Okay. Now what I would like you to do is to talk about, like, something else about the movie, Lily.
But he was a product of his time. But even back then, there were rumors of him being a Nazi sympathizer. Peter Pan desperately needs a re-edit, one that takes out all the dumb shit with the natives and replaces it with, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, gay princesses?
Okay. I'm sorry. I mean, about the Lily moment. I think I'm gonna need some tea. I think I need some tea. Oh, I just realized that we're in like zoomed in mode. Sorry. Oh no. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna get some tea, and then gonna come back, and we're gonna tackle the Lady and the Tramp. I'll find something to put on while I'm gone. Yeah, we get gay princesses, gay princesses, gay princesses, gay princesses. I'll just put this back on. Anyway, I will be right back. Should only be like 5 minutes or so. And then we'll get right back into it. Oh, hold on. Gotta get through this ad. Anyway, thank you for watching. I think I might start streaming on YouTube instead of Twitch because I'm getting a lot more views here. So yeah, I think I'll just stream on YouTube from now on. This makes a lot more sense. But anyway, I'll be back in a sec. Hello, I'm back. What are we talking about? Oh, Touchstone Studios. I like Touchstone Studio movies. I know they were just Disney movies, but I thought they were a little fun. It's when Disney wanted to get a little bit experimental or wanted to do something a bit more mature. I'm back with coffee and some cereal. I don't know if we're gonna get through this whole thing, by the way. Also, I wanna check something. If I put my fan on, because it's really hot because I'm on the top floor, how bad is that? Like, can you guys hear that? Maybe if I turn it down. I'm a he, by the way. I'm not a she. Oh, you know what I didn't get? You know what I didn't do? I could always do a part 2. Let me use this one. Hold on a second. I can't believe I forgot it. It's basically like it's one of my most important parts of these streams, and I just forget it. I don't know what's wrong with me, honestly. Hold on. Yeah, I know. We made that joke in size chat. Oh. I pulled back the curtain. No. Hold on a second. Yellow. There we go. Done. Bruh. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Let's lock that. Please just grab the source that I want you to, please. Oh, let's scoot it. You're right. Hold on. This is really important to my brand, you understand. There we go. I'm not pointing it. Is the fan? Can you guys hear the fan? I mean, you can call me Mystery if you want, but you could just call me Crim. The flaming word art. I get it from a site called cooltext.com. It literally just has like a bunch of different text effects, and I love how cheesy it looks. Anyway. I would love to keep the Disney music going, but I've gotta. I want to do something where I respond to Lily's Pokemon retrospective, but I don't know whether to do it improv, react, or scripted response. Okay, so you can't hear the fan. Good, because it is really hot in here. No fans, just like Lily. She does have her little sycophant group. Oh, did you find out? Did you hear on Sai's last stream? We discovered that Lily has another sock puppet account, and it's one she made in 2020. And on that sock puppet account, her icon is a trans girl Andrew from The Coffin of Andrew and Lele, which is probably my favorite game of this year so far. Krim is Mr. and Mrs. to show respect. I mean, if you want to show me respect, you could be like super cringe and call me Cringe-san. No, I'm sorry. That was awful. The Pokemon video is 6 hours long. Send you the pic. LOL. Yeah. So, yeah. Also, she asked a question to herself, didn't she? Yeah. I also, like, personally looked back. Honestly, you know what? Ooh, I'm dropping frames, boy. Oh yeah, Sai has to put herself above me. You can call me Pizza Crib if you want. I don't really care. You can call me you can call me anything you want. Just don't call me late for dinner. Andy and Lele Enjoyer. Do you have an idea how refreshing? I love Andy and Lele. It's so good. It reminds me of Johnny the Homicidal Maniac a lot, actually. Yeah, I like pretty much everything. I don't really have a lot of criticisms against the Coffin of Andrew and Lele, or the Coffin of Andy and Lele. I mean, it's dark, and if you don't like that sort of thing, don't play it. Yeah, I don't have a lot of criticisms against it. I love the art style. I think the story's really good. I think the characters are really compelling. Krim Senpai. Lily versus Chris Chan. Whoever wins, we lose. Carl-sama. Krim Senpai. I'm noticing you, alright. Okay. I think it's... I am gonna pause the music because I can't think with it playing. Nooblord 9001.tumblr.com. It's interesting. Very interesting. There's no longer a... There we go. View archive. There we go. Now, if you know how to use... Oh, no. If you know how to use this. Clearly I don't. Anyway. I already have a Tumblr. I just don't want to be logged in Tumblr. So this is the archive feature of Tumblr, and it basically shows everything you've ever posted on Tumblr all in one page. And if you hover over it, you can see like timestamps. it's gonna make me sign in. I don't want to log into my Tumblr. I don't want to log into my Tumblr. Okay, it's fine. Now, I would also go out on a limb. Oh, I have it. I see. I'm using when I go on stream. I use a private browser actually. So. Oh. Give me a second. New source, window capture, source, new one, Firefox, wham, window. I'm so professional. There we go. Good enough. All right. No. Sorry. I was talking to Britt earlier and hi. I don't know what she said. It was nothing like I want to hide, but like I don't know what's on there, so I don't want to like I don't Okay, we're fine. We are fine. There we go. Oh, come on. This one. There we go. Done. First of all, so literally just oh, this is funny. Stop role playing. Like, what the hell, Lily? Like, well, this is an inbred joke right here as well. So that's fun. But, like, yeah, the inbred joke. Like, oh, like the little, like, inbred child is inbred. Get it? Anyway, but this is how I imagine Lily's face looks whenever she sees I posted something that mentions the coffin of Andy and Lele. But this is like Lily pretending to be like sock puppeting. Like this is Lily saying that. So my theory is that Nooblord is probably a more honest version of Lily. Like this is probably Lily's actual opinions and thoughts and stuff. But what I think is interesting hold on, I want to click this. What's this? Why are you saying Lily's stalker's up to bullshit when it's you that they're messaging? Anyway. Yeah, people already suspected it was assault, but Lily had the account's avatar saved on her hard drive, lol. Also, I can't open Discord on my computer for some reason, so... But what I think is interesting... Keep scrolling back far enough. What year are we in? July 2021. Here's a pic showing it on her stream. Can you link it directly in chat? Because I can't open Discord right now, not on my phone. Or not on my computer. I could only open it on my phone right now. Give me a second. I thought that I could click a thing and make it go, like, in chronological order. You have to copy and paste it. I don't mind copy and pasting it. I did just put it in. Oh, it must have got marked by, like, spam. So, this is, like, when the blog was first made. Alright. Not a lot of stuff. Well, I want to check something. What's this? Until what? Okay. Something about white women love women, don't actually care about homophobia. And here we go. So, this blog was created in August 2020. This was made not long after, November 16th, 2020. So, basically, as soon as it was... Now, here's the thing. Lily's kind of niche. You probably found her through Tumblr. At this point, I would say, unless you're, like, already following her from her Brony days. But it seems like this person, like, made a Tumblr account and, like, almost immediately started reblogging Lily Orchard, which I think is really interesting. So. Oh, yeah, there was a crab rave. Okay, let me see. Crab rave. Trump is gone. Oh, okay. And then it's just yeah. Kind of hopped on the Lily simp train pretty much as soon as the blog was made. So I just think that that's really interesting. Yeah, the pretty good writing advice. Yeah. Yeah. What's this? Oh yeah, I looked at this post. How does it feel knowing that none of your creations will ever be worth anything? Value is a show. Wait a minute. Hold on. Did Lily get her blog back? No. Never mind. This isn't simp. This is just a sock puppet. At least Lily's creations won't be sitting in Jeff Bezos's or some other fucking dragon's vault, never to see the light of day except at auctions running at $50 million a pop. What are you talking about? And it's like the only comment. It's like the only commentary on this post. So I just think it's interesting that this person has been simping Lily since the beginning. Also, I'm sorry. If you disagree with me, I don't care. Yeah, Lily lost her Tumblr profile 2 times. She lost it like a few weeks ago, and then she made a new one, and then it was almost immediately banned again because she can't stop talking about incest. But anyway, here's my take. Trans girl Andrew Graves is an awful headcanon, and it's stupid and it's dumb. And it's dumb and it's stupid. I don't like the headcanon. I think it's dumb. And I think if you have a I think if you have a trans girl Andrew Graves profile picture, you're cringe. Cringe and stupid, actually. Hold on. Yeah, this isn't Ashley. If you zoom in, has the facial expressions and the green eyes, it's Andrew. And this is like one of the worst trans girl headcanons I've seen in a while. Sorry, Lily. Lily's live reaction to her Tumblr account being banned is the funniest thing Lily has ever done. It was sad, in my opinion. Anyway, do you want to watch we're gonna watch the rest of the video. Yep. Talking about the Lady and Tramp, which is a movie I also like. But yeah, we're switching gears again. Trans man Andrew Graves is based. No, it's a trans girl. Well, she headcanons Andrew as trans, and you know she does because she calls him AMAB instead of male. Just put an image of Ashley and it's trans Andy. Well, here's the thing is that like a lot of the people that misunderstand their characters just give Andrew Ashley's personality traits, like all of her good personality traits, and then just like ramp up Ashley's negative personality traits to 100, or they excuse all of Ashley's or like sort of negative personality traits. Like it's yeah. Lily thinks she's Andrew basically. She heavily projects onto Andrew and she projects Courtney onto Ashley. I think it's really telling because like um yeah. No, Lily headcanons Andrew as MTF. Because he's meek and he's kind of artistic and gentle and soft spoken, so he must be a girl. Oh yeah, we're gonna go right to the Siamese cats. Ugh. Okay, yeah, back to the movies.
This is another movie that hasn't aged well, but in a different way. Back then, a tramp was another word for a hobo, and these days, a tramp is, well, me. While I absolutely love.
Okay, for starters, Lily, you do not get laid enough to be a tramp. Second of all, that was kind of like one of the things. It's like, oh, he's a tramp, but it's like, no, he is a tramp. Like, he does sleep around.
Love Lady and the Tramp. For some reason, I can't watch more than 20 minutes of it at a time. This was the longest in a minute to write, and it threw my entire schedule out of sync as a result. Maybe it's the result of the almost episodic way the movie's written, but I think it has more to do with the really soft way the line delivery is made, along with how everything moves just a bit too slowly, and it just kind of lulls you to sleep. I've been getting that feeling with a lot of older Disney movies, even the ones that are actually pretty good, in that you kind of get lulled into a hypnotic state while watching it. Maybe that's why they're so overwhelmingly praised, despite just being kind of boring. It's kind of like watching Pepe.
Guys, Lily got immersed in the story, and it freaked her out so badly she's turning it into a point of criticism. But anyway.
Pig compilations for hours, assuming nobody's spliced that mutant offspring of Slender Man and overly attached girlfriend into it like a prick. That having been said, I do really like this movie. It's got the cute puppers in it. What's not to love? The only thing that could possibly make it more fun is gay princesses.
So she didn't touch on
this movie's so
See, it's funny because Lily is like anti-Asian, like racist. So Misheard Pidge is bitch. That's amazing. Hey, bitch. Give me some spaghetti with me. Why? Oh my god, nerd moment for me. I think the movie's first I'm really seeing use double-pointed needles for knitting and do it correctly. Yeah, I didn't even mention the Siamese cats. Yeah, it's because she is actively racist against Asian people, so of course she doesn't care about, like, an Asian caricature.
Fucking boring. Sleeping Beauty is the absolute nadir of old school Disney. It's slow, it's hypnotic, it's dull. Every character is a dull cardboard cutout, and more time is spent making really long dramatic shots.
Okay, so I also would be in my bonnet about Sleeping Beauty. I want to see what Lily's take on it is first. So let's go. Let's see.
Than doing anything entertaining. It feels like a Fantasia piece where the music was given more importance than the actual story. In fact, the story is so watered down and scrubbed clean from its original fairy tale, you wonder why Walt even bothered trying with this one. There's an irony with Sleeping Beauty in that every time Disney has revisited it, it turned out to be better than the original animated film. The film's appearance in Birth by Sleep was dramatically improved.
Oh my god, shut up, Kingdom Hearts.
Doing all the heavy lifting for Prince Philip because he's a weak-ass Trubbish shit, and the live-action remake Maleficent completely rewrote the entire story to have more badass mom energy and turning the curse scene from a dull affair into the most satisfying series of vindictive grins ever put on screen. I love this movie. It's trash, but it's my trash. The animated version is even more trash, but not nearly as fun or satisfying. While Maleficent herself is often considered the highlight of the entire film, that's only because everyone else is so dull and bland that she's the only thing that really stands out. She only has maybe one or two really good scenes, and beyond that, she really does just blend into the scenery. We're still in that era of Disney where the movie doesn't have to be good, it just has to be pretty, and it's usually the non-fairy tale movies that tend to do better because they have to have some semblance of a story involved. It's strange how in the modern era this has reversed itself, where the Disney princess movies are the really strong films, while the non-princess films are more throwaway and less enjoyable. Except Zootopia. I don't know. Sleeping Beauty needed something more engaging to really liven up the place. Like gay princesses.
Alright. So I'm just gonna pull out my little soapbox. Sleeping Beauty is not about Aurora, and it's not about Philip, and it's not about Maleficent. It's about the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. They are the main characters. Everyone else is just set pieces. Sleeping Beauty is just, what if the Golden, and I know it existed before the Golden Girls, but just bear with me. Sleeping Beauty is basically if the Golden Girls took place in a fairy tale. And you know what? I don't think they're actually sisters, are they? I think they're just friends. So yeah, they could be like 3 lesbians in a polycule if you wanted. Nobody's stopping you to do that. However, Lily does not like it when women are not conventionally attractive and young. So she sees the Maleficent movie, which I thought was okay. She sees the Maleficent movie and is like, that's a, it's about like an awesome, cool mom that kicks ass. It's like, yeah, the 3 good fairies were 3 moms that raised a little girl together and had no idea what they're doing and managed it anyway. And Philip, like, and the way that she's like, oh, in Aqua, like Philip was useless in the Kingdom Hearts section, and Aqua basically did everything. Yeah, it was the same thing in the original movie. Philip didn't do anything. The good fairies did everything. They saved him. They enchanted his sword to go into the heart of the dragon. Like, they did everything. Oh my god, the good fairies are the crystal gems. I'm still like set in my the crystal fairy the crystal fairies. The good fairies are the Golden Girls. They even like map pretty well onto the Golden Girls characters, I think. Oh, Merryweather's Amethyst, obviously. Flora is no, it's because they don't really map onto personality, right? But the fairies are old and fat, and she can't get off to that. What if they were sisters? Stop. Oh. Well, you've got like Flora, who is the kind of like the baddie one. That's kind of ditzy. She's the Rose, like from the Golden Girls. Blanche, there isn't really a Blanche. It's kind of hard, but it's hard to really pin that down. You've got Fauna, who is basically just Bea Arthur, and then you've got Merryweather, who is like this grumpy little old girl. I think Sophia would be Merryweather, honestly. It would be and we don't have a Blanche. Blanche is on vacation, but like Merryweather is Sophia, Rose is Flora, and Bea Arthur's character is Fauna. So yeah, the fairies are very adorable, but there was this whole like when it was advertised, it's like you've never seen before. It's because like it was retelling it from the perspective of the fairies. The fairies played support so that everyone else could do their part. Yeah, because they're fairies, and that's what fairies do. Like, what if you saw a fairy tale from the perspective of like the fairy godmothers? That was the whole point of Sleeping Beauty. And it was really cool because nobody had ever considered that perspective. You know what? No, here's the thing. Blanche is Maleficent. Blanche is 100% Maleficent. She would love that too. Yes, Lisa, you've got same brain cell. You're picking up what I'm putting down. And she would love it too. Blanche would love to be Maleficent. Anyway, so yeah.
101 Dalmatians is kinda boring. This is the start of the Xerox era of Disney, where all the animation was done via photocopier, and it wasn't just...
Ooh, I loved the Xerox era of Disney. I actually had, when I was in art school, we like kind of tried to mimic that thing using a similar method. It was really fun. I love the Xerox look. I love how sketchy and like this sketchiness, because this is what happens is when you're sketching, lines tend to look more alive, and I feel like it gives these cells so much more life than just like clean lines. I love how it looks. And I love how you can see like the volume and the artistry of anyway, sorry.
The animation that changed. A lot of these movies have a really whispery sort of
I
line
love
reading where
that
everything
look.
just sounds soft and dulled out, which really makes a lot of the movies a snorefest to watch. This is something about the Xerox era I find a lot of people don't talk about. The sound design makes these movies harder to watch than the animation
mind
ever
the
would.
six-
I
I
actually
don't know,
think
I
the
don't-
Xerox animation looks fine. It's
Okay,
like
yeah.
an old storybook came to life, and it's a pretty cool effect. I tend to be in the minority in that really impressive animation isn't my priority with animated films. It's the writing. The writing was what killed 2D animation in recent years, after all. But 101 Dalmatians is just kind of a slog. The movie itself has too slow of a pacing, and it takes a lot for anything particularly interesting to happen. And the previously
See, I find it very interesting that like Lily is like, oh, it's so slow, it's so slow, the pacing is so slow, but yet she wants these kind of slow, like status quo doesn't change kind of stories. Like she complains that things are too high stakes. I again, this is like an issue of like Lily not really actually having like a static opinion. Like it's always whatever, you know, it's always whatever will be most contrary at the time.
mentioned, sound design means that even otherwise critical scenes tend to be drab and dull as
I
everyone
love the
whispers their
animation
lines like
too.
they're
Like
trying
that's
not
what
to
a
wait for their
dog like
parents. And
actually
that's a
looks
shame
like
because
when
a lot of
it's
these
yanking
moments
on
are
its
really
leash.
good, but they require a rewind almost every time because they're such a chore to listen to. Weirdly enough, despite the majority of the film being really tedious and boring, the last third where Pongo and Perdita are bringing their puppies home is genuinely some of the most tense and enjoyable filmmaking I've seen so far. From hiking in the blizzard to taking refuge through the night to the stealth mission in town to the chase at the end, it all had me on the edge of my seat, and I don't usually get that excited for anything
Dalmatians
except
use
gay
blackface.
princesses.
Oh my god, shut up, Lily.
Okay, I'm at a loss for words because this movie is legit puzzling. It doesn't really have a
Lily, I will give you bottom surgery for free with my foot. Why would you watch a visual medium and not care for the visual part? Yeah, I think the animation is really interesting. It's just writing is what killed Treasure Planet. When she actually watched it, she loved it. You'll see. I remember asking her and she deleted my message in real time. Yeah. Oh boy. Sword of the Stone's a bit of a... It's a weird movie.
story. Merlin starts educating a young boy for most of the movie and then accidentally becomes king within the last 5 minutes like it's no big deal. Like, this movie
It's not an accident. Merlin knew this was gonna happen. That's why he took him on that little journey, you idiot.
movie's so much nothing. A lot of Disney movies amount to nothing, but they usually at least have something resembling a plot and a climax. This one just stops, and I'm a little fascinated how this movie came to be made. Merlin's funny, but you can't really base an entire movie around that one idea. It's a nothing plot and furries.
So here's the thing, is that like the Black Cauldron was basically if this movie had like an epic plot, and I just know she's gonna veer right in the other direction bitching about it. Anyway. Entire screed of the education system, yeah. So I bet like when she goes to talk about Black Cauldron, she's gonna be saying basically the exact opposite of what she's saying now.
I don't
I
get
like
it.
both movies.
Walt, this
I
movie's
prefer
a
Black
dud.
Cauldron
It really needs a
now.
life-saving injection of gay princesses.
Shut up.
Okay, I'll level with you. I didn't finish The Jungle Book. I got 20 minutes into the movie, and I had only 3 jokes written, and I decided I just...
Lily. Lily. You can't make a review of a movie you didn't fucking watch. Just skip it. If you don't like it, just skip it. You can't make a review of a movie you didn't watch. And you shouldn't be watching a movie specifically trying to find ways to insert your awful jokes about it.
couldn't be bothered finishing it. I don't know what it was about the movie that made me so criminally bored, but I couldn't stand watching another minute. Something gay princesses. This whole movie is about one alley cat trying to get laid and become a stepfather.
No, it's not. Thomas O'Malley originally, he's like, oh, that's a sexy kitty. I'm gonna fuck that kitty. And then realizes she has a bunch of kids and is like, okay, I can't do that. Like, I gotta be a gentleman. And then he was just gonna send them on their way, and then just from circumstances ends up traveling with them and realizes he loves the kids just as much as he loves the mom, maybe even more. And then it's kind of, it's a little goofy movie, and like Thomas O'Malley is like a man, he's not the stepfather, he's the father that stood up. She won't talk about the Asian racism.
Aristocats is aged weirdly. The film has the worst of the worst when it comes to Disney racism. Every single one of the Alley Cat gang is a racial stereotype, but special mention goes to the one cat with squinty eyes, buck teeth, an English accent, and can't string sentences together. They even had him play the Oriental riff on a piano with a pair of chopsticks just to really hammer it home.
Okay, there we go. Well, you surprised me, Lily.
Aside from the fact that it's racism. People are always trying to excuse Disney's racist crap by saying, oh, it was a different time.
Okay. Oh, it's because it's because she liked Lady and the Tramp, but I don't think she missed it. I think it's just that she liked Lady and the Tramp, but she doesn't like the Aristocrats. That being said, okay, I'll give her this one. And I'm not, were the other alley cats racist stereotypes? I mean, I know that the Siamese cat was, but I didn't pick that up, like, that it was racist stereotypes. I mean, like, the little tuxedo cat's kind of a bit of like a, yeah, cool, man. Like, he's kind of like a beatnik, like, or like a, I guess you could read him as black if you wanted to. I didn't really think about that. I just read him as a cat. I don't really think the other alley cats were. No, again, like, I'm not really in the place to judge that, but whatever.
Standards were different back then. But
you know what I can do? I can say, like, yeah, that was a racist stereotype, and then I can move on and I can just watch the rest of the movie and take it as it was.
Is that only really applies to nomenclature. Depending on the time period, it's not uncommon to hear some of the lesser racial slurs being used, but the kind of depictions that occur in a lot of Disney films, and this one in particular, only happens when you have a particularly nasty kind of malice that can exist regardless of the time period it came from. A lot of people from that time were racist simply because racism was normalized, but it
I wish that she would stop doing this. Scat Cat was voiced by... Oh, was he voiced by Scatman Crothers? I didn't know that. I love Scatman. Here's what I don't like, and what Lily does, is like she finds like a problematic aspect of a show or something, and she'll fucking blow up and make it. Did Lily watch a censored version of Lady and the Tramp? It's possible. She might have. Lily missed the song, so we don't talk about that one. But like, she will like throw the baby out with the bathwater. So now instead of getting an analysis, not like she really deeply analyzes anything. Yeah, the cat was based on Scatman himself, not a racist stereotype. Interesting. Okay. But she'll find like a racist part of it and like focus on that and then not pay attention to anything else. And that's bad on multiple ways. On one thing, you are missing out on a bit of artistry. On another level, if you like something, and then it has a racist aspect to it, you might be more likely to ignore that racism. If it's something that you like. If you don't accept that, hey, sometimes things that are good are also end up having problematic elements to it. And we don't like forget about that. We just go, hey, I had to go check for my sanity. In Lady and the Tramp in 70 minutes, she does address the racist Siamese cast, but she doesn't bother for her summary. Yeah, I'm sure in 50 years people will be calling something, and even the most progressive seeming things now, problematic. Yeah, I mean, I could be like, hey, why the hell does Tarzan have dreadlocks? He's white. That's kind of weird. And maybe in like 30 years, people will have a big problem with that. Or something. Or be like, hey, how come in this movie they downplayed the queerness of the character so much? Or like, yeah. I don't know. I just think that it's really not good to assume that like if something has racism or a problematic element to it, it's all bad, because like you're throwing out what could otherwise be a good piece of media, but it also like sort of trains your brain to think if something is good, it can't possibly be problematic. You know what I mean? I hope I'm kind of getting what I mean across there. Because I think it's important to, no matter how good something is, to always be aware of the impact that can have on other people in the world around us, and always call it into question. You know, like I find critical thinking really important. And instead of saying like, hey, let's go back and change all of these movies to include gay princesses instead of the problematic elements, we should sit there and be like, okay, so what does this problematic element say about the movie and the people that made it and the people of the time that watched it? And like, you know, all works by human hands are flawed. Yes, indeed they are. As a black dude, I don't find anything offensive about Tarzan dreadlocks. I don't think most people do, but I'm just like using it as an example of like maybe somebody could find offense in that someday. But does that say that we throw out the whole movie? I don't think so. I'm indigenous, and I don't think we should throw out all of Peter Pan just because it had like awful racist stereotypes. I can hold two seemingly contradicting realities in my hands that, yeah, there is a racist stereotype in Peter Pan, and a pretty blatant one, but I like the movie. As a black woman, I like Tarzan's design. You know what? I also like Tarzan's design, just as appreciator of attractive men. Anyway.
Took a particular kind of racism to do something like a minstrel show or protest interracial marriage, an antagonistic kind of racism, the MAGA kind of racism. And Disney very much falls into that category because there is nothing about their depictions that isn't completely and 100% deliberate, because no amount of passive racism is gonna get you this far. This is why I reject the notion that I have to judge it based on the time in which it was released, because this kind of shit was antagonistic even by the standards of its time. Anyway, moving on to what is arguably Age of the Best, I was honestly surprised by Thomas O'Malley. Usually male leads in Disney films are either bland or blatantly horrible, because the idea that male leads don't have to be entitled, selfish, low-key, misogynistic jackasses is actually a relatively new thing, as in within the last decade or so, and only 2 characters ever really fit that role. Well, now it's 3, because honestly, O'Malley fits into that same mold. In fact, you know who he most reminds me of? Eugene in the first season of the Tangled cartoon, where he was really understanding about Rapunzel's refusal of his proposal, had no hang-ups about Rapunzel's ability to take care of herself, and even chided the king himself over it.
Eugene, please, take care of Rapunzel.
We are gonna get you out of here. Besides, you should know by now, Rapunzel doesn't need anyone to take care of her.
And was just overall the most supportive, understanding kind of person around. And that's the same kind of vibe I get from O'Malley. While he starts the movie trying to flirt with Duchess, who honestly flirts back even harder, almost instantly he switches to caring only about her well-being over himself, and it's just... nice. I know it's kind of a bare minimum standard for these kind of characters, but I'm just going to appreciate that this managed to happen in the 70s of all things. I know Lady and the Tramp kind of went that way too, but Tramp only really turned around in the last bit of the movie, while O'Malley is like almost immediately after he's introduced. Everything else in the movie is usually centered on the relationship between Duchess, her kids, and O'Malley, and it's a miracle that O'Malley came out as well as he did. I'm in two minds on this movie because on the one hand it has some of the worst racism I've ever seen in Disney, but on the other hand O'Malley himself is aged
Are you
surprisingly
kidding?
well. Then again, maybe there's something else problematic about this movie that I'm missing because I'm still dealing with the whole sheltered in rural Canada thing, and someone else will point it out to me in the comments and I'll kick myself for not noticing. I mean, personal growth and further enlightening is almost as good as Gay Princesses.
I think the Robin Hood one might be the last one for now. But also, I think it's really interesting because, like, you've got, like, Duchess is kind of coded as being an older woman. And Mally's kind of portrayed to be a little bit on the, like, I wouldn't say young, but, like, you know, he's a little young, probably younger than Duchess. Yet he still finds her attractive and worth loving, and, like, not only that, but he likes her kids. Like, it's kind of like, I know they were cats, but I still think it was a very sweet relationship. Um, yeah, I think that for now, Robin Hood's gonna be my last one. I was hoping to go until the Mouse Detective, but oh my god. We haven't even gotten to fucking Black Cauldron yet. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the Robin Hood's pretty good. I think we're definitely missed out on what it could have been, which was two rooster characters that were like Spanish fighters, and it was like kind of like light versus dark. It was kind of gay, and yeah, we didn't end up getting that movie. We got Robin Hood instead, but it's fine, I guess. I wouldn't. It's not like I would have liked a movie without gay, like, sword fighting Spanish roosters at all. Like, that's not really something I would have loved. But anyway.
I was genuinely surprised by Robin Hood. I expected it to be the usual snore fest a lot of these movies are, but it was a genuinely funny and enjoyable movie, which is ironic considering it's about a rich oligarch choking the life out of the general public with crippling taxes. This is the fun part of reviewing
It's
movies
Robin
by today's
Hood.
standards
Robin
rather
Hood
than the
is
standards
pretty
of when they
easy
came
to
out,
do
because This
well.
film came out just before Reagan gutted the American economy to heavily favor the rich more than it already had done, so the idea of a greedy baron as the villain who just wants gold, gold, gold was seen as quaint back in the 70s, and still is by people who live in their own fantasy land. But today, when Amazon employees are living off food stamps,
Like, Robin Hood is like a timeless tale that everybody loves. Everybody loves an underdog. Everybody loves the whole take from the like rich and undeserving and give to the poor and needy. Like, yeah, the Rooster Singer is basically the only leftover from like the cockfighting movie that we were gonna get, but it's fine. Again, like, it's not like I would have enjoyed gay roosters. Like, it's fine.
while their CEO is sitting on almost $200 billion. I'm not the
Yeah,
first
now
person to
she's
point out that
judging
the
it on the
also
time
greedy
it-
corporate villain from a
yeah,
lot of movies
on the
isn't
time it came
exactly the
out.
cartoon caricature people like to imagine they are. That's actually how corporate executives work. And in Robin Hood, it gets more in the nose, because just like in the movie, when the rich are encountered with anything that might make them go from extremely rich to ever so slightly less extremely rich, they go,
Yeah,
in the
that's
first
the
third
joke,
of the movie, there's
Willie.
an extended scene where a bunch of children sneak into Prince John's castle, only for Maid Marian and I don't remember who the chicken's name is, to welcome them in and act out the overthrow of Prince John. Aside from the fact that it's beautifully
Yeah, of
relevant
course you don't remember what her name is because she's not a thin, attractive woman. She's just the fat old lady in your head.
these days to hear a child scream death to
Canadian
tyrants,
Wendy's is
especially
good,
since
I'll
these days
fight
that
you.
has somehow become a contentious topic. The whole sequence is probably the most adorable thing I've ever seen in a Disney
Robin Hood
movie.
nutshell,
Seriously,
kill
that
the
kid's
rich.
going places. Also,
Hard
the
agree.
brawl after the archery tournament remains one of the single funniest things I've ever seen in one of these movies. The slapstick to the quipping to the football homage out of fucking nowhere, it's just a good time. And after spending so long having to slog through so much horrible shit out of professional obligations, I am all about having a good time. Robin Hood is a great film. It's aged beautifully, and it stands out against an ocean of centrist live and let die complacency. Only thing that can make it truly perfect is gay princesses.
Yeah, alright. Again, she didn't actually analyze it. She's like, ooh, I love it because it's cool. Like, can you please just analyze, like, one fucking thing? Anyway. You couldn't just look it up when you wrote the script. Yeah, exactly. Like, I have an excuse. I have a brain full of Swiss cheese, and I'm doing this live. Hey, let's see. How long does it take us? Chicken, Robin Hood, Lady Cluck. Her name was Lady Cluck. I don't know if they ever actually say her name in the movie, but you could have just looked up. YouTube is free, or Google is free. Rooster fighting Disney movie canceled. I just want to show you this. Oh, there it is, Chanticleer. I want to show you what they took from us. The whole good thing equals good monarchy thing from, yeah. Where's my gay little roosters? Oh, here they are. Look what we could have had. Look what they took from us. God, I wish we got this movie. This would have caused me a complex as a child if I watched this. Chanticleer went over on Bluth and became Roggendoodle. No, you did. Stop. Terrible. Awful, awful. Go. Some more characters. Little bird. Look at that. Little. There you go. Some more of the characters. Here's some of the hens. They're adorable. More of the little characters. I love the concept art so much. Chanticleer Renard. Anyway. There he is with the sexy hen. But we all know. We all know. We all know that this is the these two are the real. I need a fun little bird movie in my life. Truly, we ended up in the worst timeline without this. Yeah. 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 Chanticleer Renard. Look it up. It's really cool. There was like the whole script was like developed and everything. There was like, what's that? You might like, oh, hold on, Ugly Duckling. Probably gonna spit up. Okay, yeah, I think it was this one, Princess Tutu. I knew it was gonna spit up Princess Tutu. I think this is the one that I'm thinking of, though. No, this is an older one. What was the one about the duck that ended up like living with the chickens or something? Hold on. It was really good. Duck and chicken anime. Let me find out. Leafy, A Hen in the Wild. Yeah, that's what it is. Watch this, please. It's actually really good. So it's about this hen. Sorry, it's off center. It's about this hen that adopts a duck and tries to raise him as her own, and she's really bad at it. Like, she can't teach him how to swim. and she can't fly, but she tries so hard, and it's, it's about a mother's love and all of that. And like this is what he looks like. This is what he looks like when he grows up with the fucking hair. It's so good. Oh, it's actually Korean. Not Japanese. My bad. I didn't know that. Yeah, it's really good. Squeakers, you'd probably like it. It was a good time. I enjoyed it. Emo duck and all. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap it up for tonight. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'm probably gonna start doing my streams over on YouTube because it looks like I get more viewers over here, and that's kind of the idea. I think you couldn't find it because it's a Korean movie. Yeah, exactly. The duck is my gender. Yeah, it would have caused a crisis in teenage me if it had come out when I was a teenager. Is it a movie or a series? It's a movie. I think it's been a little while since I watched it. But yeah, basically, like, I wish Lily is kind of like the center of what I find is wrong with a lot of um analysts right now and like movie critics is that they don't actually critique or analyze the things and the themes that they're looking at. They're just like, I didn't like it because there was racism in it, or I didn't like it because there wasn't the right kind of representation. And they don't actually like sink their teeth into the themes. Like I know that the Disney Roundup thing was like just very short, like very brief, like conversations about each movie, but like all of her stuff is like that. And it's just kind of I find it heartbreaking because I really like some of my favorite sort of producers and video essayists, I guess you could say, are Jacob Geller, Lady Knight the Brave, and oh god, Nightmare Master Class. Yes, Nightmare Master Class I really like as well. I also like, not to be a simp for my friends, but I also really like Psy's stuff. And I like Dan the Real Man. I saw his Santa Claus movie and it rotated my brain a little bit. So there are like people that are still trying to do that style of review. They either don't make stuff very often, like Jacob Nightmare Masterclass and Lady Knight the Brave, or they're like smaller channels like Dan. So I wouldn't say I'm an essayist, lol. You're not an essayist, but you're like biting into things more than just like, I don't like this because it's racist, or I don't like this because it's not gay enough. You know what I mean? Geller is hella based. He is hella based. I love Jacob Geller. He has a lot of his stuff on Nebula, and I enjoy Nebula. Jose is also pretty good. Where he kind of talks about like he's basically doing what I think Lily wishes she was doing. Where so I think Jose is probably the most analogous to Lily's content, where he is like looking at like the political implications of like sitcoms, right? And like he did one on what was it called, Family Matters, like the one with Archie Bunker or whatever. He did a big old video essay on that, and I think Lily wants to do content like that, but I unfortunately don't think she's educated enough to speak on things like that, because unfortunately, like, I'm just a layman, right? And I do know certain things, but I could never make a video like Jacob Geller, or like Jose, or like H Bomber Guy. They are university educated and I am not. Yeah, Jose is really good. I would definitely recommend. I love listening to him. He's such a good calming voice and he's really smart, and yeah. can't suggest them enough. And as far as I know, there's no weird allegations towards him, unlike what seems to be a lot of like leftist tube these days slash slightly progressive people that talk about children's cartoons. Because people will call anybody that does that doesn't say slurs bread tube these days, even though bread tube means something very specific. Yeah. I wouldn't call Jose part of bread tube. You want a cartoonific Tariq is pretty good. A bit of vibe side. A bit on the vibe side though. You know who I really like? I haven't seen her videos in a little while, but if you kind of want sort of a more down to earth person talking about politics in film, Haryana Hook. I like Haryana's stuff. Sometimes she says things that I don't agree with. But she definitely opens my eyes to things. I wonder if I can find her. I did spell that right, but it's fine. Haryana Hook. Oh, she's gotten really big since yeah. She's pretty cool. I like her. So yeah, she talks about very similar things that Lily does, but she's actually like a black woman. So yeah. If you wish that Lily didn't absolutely suck. If you wish that somebody made if you are a recovering Lily fan, watch Haryana. She's great. I've spoken to her before. Not a big one, just I sent her a little Tumblr ask and she responded to me, and it was like a very like she comes across, she puts on a bit of a character. She puts on a bit of a character in her videos where she comes across as a little like she's a little what's her whole thing is like, I'm the captain of this shit and you are not my first mate, and she's very funny. But that's not what she's like at all. Like if you ever get a chance to speak with her, she's very sweet. She's very kind, she's very humble. Yeah, like, I'm the captain, you are not my first mate. She's also a really good cosplayer, I would say. And she watches adult media. Yeah, she watches a lot of nostalgic stuff as well. And like through this, it's a lot of it's through the lens of a black woman. But her videos are very good. I can't recommend her enough. It's been a little while since I watched her though. I think the last video I watched of hers in defense of crack shipping, yeah, absolutely go off. Or be awful to dead women. I think that was the last one. Either that or the Megara video. But yeah. If you are a recovering Lily fan, watch Haryana. She's everything Lily wishes she was. Anyway, I am gonna head out for the night. Thank you so much for watching. And I am hoping to stream on Sunday, but I might be a little bit late because I'm moving and